family, welcome to the second part of our two-part series on how to identify or deal with a toxic or an abusive relationship. If you haven't watched the first part and you're watching this for the first time, I advise that you go first and watch that part before you continue with this particular video, because in that first part I shared on how to identify a toxic or an abusive relationship. In this second part, I'm going to be dealing with how to leave a toxic and an abusive relationship. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, now would be a good time to subscribe. There's so many things that we have for you on this channel, and on this channel we teach you how to level up on every area of your life so that you can end up being the best version of yourselves. So like this video, and of course share with your family and friends as well, so that they too can learn something new. Without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? It is always easier said than done to get up and leave a toxic relationship, especially one that you've invested so much of your time, so much of your effort, so much of your resources into. But if you've identified that you are in a toxic relationship, there are steps that you can take to easily come out of the relationship. But it requires that you are loving, compassionate, considerate, and forgiving of yourself, and you start to put yourself first before anything and anyone else. The steps I'm about to share with you right now will help you successfully get out of a toxic relationship, or will help you decide how things must play out going forward. The steps I'm about to share is not something that can be done in a day or two. It's an entire process and may take time, sometimes weeks, up to weeks, and sometimes up to months, depending on the dynamics of your toxic relationship. You are the only one that can decide or determine what best to do after listening to all of the steps that I'm about to point out. Does that make sense? The very first step that I've put down here on my list is evaluate the relationship honestly. For this particular step, you might even find that you'd have to seek the help of family and friends who are onlookers looking into the relationship and can see clearly everything that you as an insider may not be able to see, because you're probably blinded by emotions, sentiments, and all of those things that just block and blind people who are in love from seeing the real truth. In this first step of evaluating the relationship honestly, you should be asking yourself questions like, what are the pros and the cons of this relationship? What are the good? What are the bad? What value is this relationship adding to my life? Is it making me better, or is it making me worse? Is it adding or subtracting to my life? These are the kind of questions that you ask when you are thoroughly evaluating the relationship. And you have to be true to yourself. A relationship is not necessarily the most important thing in your life. You and the purpose you have to fulfill on the earth are the most important things in your life before anything else. You can successfully achieve everything you were destined to achieve in this life, whether or not you have a relationship. So be very, very, very honest with yourself when you are evaluating your relationship. What value is this relationship adding to my life? Evaluate it on a daily basis. Like every day, what value am I getting out of this relationship? How is it improving me? How is it making me a better person? How is it making me to level up? How is it making me to be the best version of myself? You're supposed to be better off when another whole complete person comes to join themselves with you. So if you're not better off, if you find that you're not inspired or encouraged to be a better version of yourself when you meet a person, then you clearly have no business being in that relationship. So first of all, start by evaluating the relationship. This is not an exercise that you can rush. Like I said before, it may take days, it may take weeks, it may even take months to truly evaluate things and come up with a conclusion. And the time it takes may vary, because every relationship functions on its own dynamics. There's no two relationships that's alike. So relationships have different dynamics and play out differently. And there's so many variables to consider, especially if you are one in a marital relationship. There's so many variables you have to consider when truly analyzing and asking yourself, what is this relationship doing for me? Get a pen, bring out your pad and start writing. It's that serious. It's that serious. Don't throw your whole life away because you are in a toxic or in an abusive relationship that's doing you no good. Don't throw your whole life away. You are here to fulfill a purpose and achieve something. Now, after evaluating the relationship honestly, the second step would be to rediscover yourself. Now, whilst you are evaluating the relationship, which is step 1, you can actually also simultaneously be performing step 2, which is rediscover yourself. Now, you need to understand that your life, I'm emphasizing your life, is more than just being in a relationship. It's way more than just being in a relationship. Your value does not come from whether or not you are in a relationship. That's not what makes you valuable. Stop letting society make you believe or think that your value comes from whether or not you are in a marital relationship or you are in a relationship with anyone. Your life is way more than a relationship. There is more to life than being in a romantic relationship or being loved by someone or not. The most important thing for you as an individual is the fulfillment of your destiny and your life purpose. And that you can actually successfully accomplish whether you are in a relationship or not. People like Jesus Christ. Have you ever wondered why Jesus did not date anybody when he was on earth? He wasn't part of his calling. Apostle Paul in the Bible, he never married. It's not part of his destiny. Just giving those examples so you can understand me. The most important thing to you as an individual is the fulfillment of your purpose and your divine destiny. It's not marriage. A loving, harmonious, and peaceful relationship is just a support system that can actually aid the fulfillment of your purpose. If the relationship is not harmonious or peaceful or loving, why are you in it? Why are you in it? This is the time where you need to do some major soul searching. Rediscover yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here on this earth? What's your life's purpose? What are your goals? What makes you you? What makes you complete? What makes you a whole person? These are things that you need to only take up the responsibility of finding out yourself. How do you do this? It's by seeking for knowledge and information. Building your skills. How do you build your communication skills? How do you build your personal skills? How do you build your mental skills? How do you develop yourself? Now, these are things that you were supposed to have been taught whilst growing up as a child by your guardians, your teachers, your parents, and whatnot. But most of us weren't taught these things. Now we are adults, and most of us are finding it difficult to have loving, harmonious relationships because we haven't discovered our purpose, we haven't discovered ourselves, we haven't built skills that can help us thrive in relationships. Now you are an adult, you don't have this knowledge, you don't have this information. What do? You go and you get it. Reading books, exposing yourself to seminars, listening to podcasts on self-development, mind development, body development, mental development. These things that help you become a full, complete, whole person. Don't be a burden to someone else. Don't be a burden to someone else. You can easily be a burden to someone else when you haven't discovered who you are. Who are you? What makes you you? Why are you you? Why are you here? What are you doing here on this earth? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? What value do you have to offer anyone? These are questions that you need to sincerely sit down and answer yourself in this second step of rediscovering yourself. At this point, you need to develop skills that helps you be a full, complete, whole, independent person that can function as a full individual without the need to be loved by someone else. The love you get from someone else is just the extra, is the jara. The first thing starts with you as a complete, full individual. Forget about the love. Work on yourself and being the full, whole version of yourself before you start to seek love from someone else. That's when love will be sweetest. I'm telling you, when you are fully functioning in that and you meet somebody who is truly, fully functioning in their uniqueness, you come together. Kai, that's a match made in heaven. I'm telling you. Some points that I have put down to help you in the second step are: grow your confidence. Develop your communication skills. Become self-aware and conscious of your existence and your purpose. Be definite about the things that you are most passionate about. It's time for you to stay true to yourself. It's time for you to stand up for yourself first. It's time for you to put yourself first. It's time for you to respect your goals, your dreams, your values, your visions. It's time. It's about damn time that you start to make you the focus. Forget about a partner for now. That's if you're not married. If you're in a relationship and you haven't discovered yourself, it's time for you to put that relationship aside and do some work on yourself. A whole life is in front of you that requires your full attention and the full loving support of everyone in your life. If there is anyone or anything who is distracting you from this goal, that person needs to be taken out of the way. Literally taken out of the way so they can focus on rediscovering yourself. You are only ready to be in a relationship when you have a healthy relationship with yourself first, without feeling the need to be in a relationship with anyone. That's the only time you would be ready or you are ever qualified to be in a relationship. Take time and perform this second step. If you are a single person watching this video, then you are in the bestest place possible, because now you still have the very clear head to focus on discovering yourself and being a whole version of yourself before letting anyone into your life. If you're already in a relationship, all hope is not lost. You can still rediscover yourself, but start today. You are a whole person who has a whole life ahead of them, and your whole life should not be about whether somebody loves you or not. Forget about people who love you. Love yourself. The third step that I've put down here on how to get out of an abusive or toxic relationship would be: start loving yourself and putting you first. Start loving yourself and putting you first. Remember the steps. First step would be to what? Evaluate that relationship. Second step would be rediscover who you are. The third step, which all of these things are happening simultaneously. It's not like you'll be done with the first step before you start the second step. They're happening at the same time. The third step would be love yourself and start putting you first. You are the prize. You are the value. If you are not valuable to yourself, you can't be valuable to anyone else. You don't want to be a baggage in a relationship. You want to be someone who is valuable, who has something to contribute to that relationship. You don't want to be there as just a fallow ground that doesn't produce anything. Sorry if I'm being harsh, but this just lets you know the importance of this topic. You would only be treated how you decide to treat yourself. Someone would only treat you based off of how you treat yourself. So if you want to be treated with love, respect, care, consideration, and compassion, you need to start loving yourself and putting yourself first. And of course, letting everybody know that you actually come first. And when I say put yourself first, I don't mean doing this in a very selfish way or in a way that's toxic or like you don't care about anyone else but yourself. That's not what I mean. I mean, you are taking the time to be the best version of yourself and while loving yourself through the process of doing that. Understand that your life has value. You are a complete, whole, full, purposeful individual who deserves all the goodness that this universe has to offer. You might need help performing this third step if you really do not know how to go about it. You can seek the knowledge or help of someone who is well grounded in the topic of self-love or self-care or purpose discovering. Like, you can actually talk to a therapist, talk to a family member or a friend who is well grounded in the subject. I personally have done a video on self-love and building confidence on the channel. I'm going to put the links in the description box. You can watch that video if you really want to learn how to discover your purpose, build your self-confidence. If you really want to understand the meaning of self-care, you can watch those videos. But for step 3, if you really don't know how to go about this, you may necessarily need to seek the help of a professional, a therapist, a counselor, someone who will guide you on the journey to rediscovering yourself and loving yourself by putting yourself first. Now, the very fourth step on how to leave an abusive relationship or how to decide what to do going forward would be have a sit-down conversation with your partner. Now, this is assuming you are still in that abusive or toxic relationship. But I tell you that if you are performing steps 2 and 3 correctly, you would, in fact, being in an abusive relationship will repel you. You would hate, you would not want to be in it. But if peradventure, you feel like something can be done about it and the situation can be salvaged, the thing you do next is you sit your partner down and have a conversation with them. Call out your partner's abusive behavior in a way that is respectful but very firm, and making it very clear to them that you will not be tolerating their abusive behavior anymore. And you can only know if they have been abusive to you if you've performed the first step correctly by evaluating the relationship. That's the only way you can know if your partner is being abusive to you. So you sit them down after discovering that they're being abusive to you. Sit them down and make them understand that you will not be tolerating any form of their toxic or abusiveness on you anymore. You need to use very clear and precise words to demand that their abusiveness towards you has to stop. Maintain your calm and your composure, but be very firm in your delivery on how you are telling them this thing, because this will let them know that it's not business as usual. Okay? Clearly share the new boundaries that you have set for yourself with them, and then ensure that these boundaries are enforced. Now, all of these things that I've said should be done if you decide that your relationship with your partner can be salvaged. That's where you have a sit-down conversation with them. But if you think it cannot be salvaged, there's no point having a sit-down conversation with them. Just tell them you're no longer interested in the relationship and walk away from it. The final step in the process of leaving an abusive relationship or deciding how things will be going forward would be to observe and decide. After having a sit-down conversation with them, you observe their actions over the next couple of days or weeks. And based off their actions, you can now decide what you must do about the relationship. At this stage in the relationship, if you have done steps 2 and 3 very correctly, discovering yourself, finding out who you are and all of those things, trust me, you will become so empowered and become so confident that if your abusive partner doesn't change his or her actions towards you, you would up and you would leave without looking back twice. I'm telling you this with all of my heart. And this is assuming you still want to salvage the relationship. Now, during this time, when you're observing to decide what you must do, depending on the dynamics of your relationship, don't be overly invested in the relationship. Don't do the things that you usually would do before that helps you ensure that the relationship is thriving. What you are only supposed to be doing at this time is observing your partner to see what their reactions or their actions would be after you've had the sit-down conversation with them. At this time, you are also still working on yourself. You're also still developing yourself, because an individual cannot fully be developed. Like, you can't say, oh, I've reached the highest level of my developmental stage. No. So at this time, you're still developing yourself and working on being the best version of yourself whilst observing your partner very, very seriously. Okay? Now, depending on the outcome of your observation, you can now decide whether or not to leave the relationship or to stay if you think that things can be salvaged. Because sometimes an abusive partner may also be doing things based out of ignorance. They are lacking self-awareness themselves, they haven't developed themselves, and that's why I still believe that you don't just throw away a person just because they are toxic. You give them the opportunity to change by calling them out on that toxic behavior. Change is very possible and attainable when you call out your toxic partner on their toxic behavior. And then you know that they are really ready to change when they take full responsibility of their actions and clearly show you that, see, I've been doing this, I didn't know, I'm sorry, I'm willing to change and I'm willing to become better. They literally would use words like that to express that they are really sorry and they didn't know that all of those things that they're doing to you is affecting you in the way that it's affecting you. Does that make any sense? So change is very possible when you're dealing with a toxic partner. So based off of your findings from your observation, you can decide whether or not you are staying in the relationship or whether it's time to pack your load and go. I need to also say at this point that you also have to be very mindful, especially if you're dealing with a partner who is emotionally or mentally abusive, who is manipulative and deceptive. Because When you call them out on the behavior and they know that you're calling them out, they might adjust themselves and they will change temporarily just to satisfy you. And then when they see that you are okay, and then when the situation seems to be okay, they become worse off than they were the very first time. They will manipulate you into staying by being what you want them to be, just to calm you down and ease off the situation. Then when they see that you are calm and the situation has been eased off, they take on their nonsense traits and continue to be abusive towards you. So you really need to, this 5-step process is actually even easier said than done. And if you're not strong enough, it's not something you can do as a person. You need help. You really need help. You need help. But if you're strong enough, of course, you can do it on your own by seeking information, seeking knowledge. But if you can't do it on your own, you definitely need help. So be very mindful of the very manipulative and deceptive partners who would deceive you and manipulate you and make you feel okay just to calm you down, and then they come back again and become their normal self after they found that you are calm. And then that way it's just going to be like a roller coaster of emotions. I wrote down here that if the abusive relationship is really bad and beyond your control, it is advisable to seek professional help. These professionals can be therapists, relationship experts, even your own family and friends that are well grounded in the subject of relationship. So if you can't do it on your own, seek help. I am no therapist. I'm no professional. I'm no relationship expert. I am just an expert on understanding life and life dynamics because of how well read I am. I have read and acquired so much knowledge. And of course, I have a rich experience as well. So I am just saying these things based on how I know what life ought to be like. So you can reach out to a therapist, someone who is well grounded in these things, and they can help you come out of your toxic relationship or help you and your partner find a way to live or cohabit in a healthy manner. Now, if you're the one who feels like the relationship cannot be salvaged, it's so toxic you want out, but you are feeling stuck and you cannot leave, the fastest way to achieve it is to perform steps 2 and 3, which is rediscovering yourself and loving yourself first. These 2 things have a lot of weight, and if you really understand it and go through the process well, you will definitely be able to come out of any toxic relationship with your confidence intact. Like nothing will shake you. Okay? Because until and unless you rediscover yourself and start loving yourself, you may not find the strength to come out of a toxic relationship. It will be so difficult for you to come out. And I'm actually saying this based out of experience. I have been in a toxic relationship before, and I know exactly, oh my God, it was the most draining time of my life. And I felt like it will be so. That's why when people say to other people, come out of the relationship, come out, I'm saying no, it's easier said than done. Especially when you have your emotions, your feelings, your everything attached to it. It's easier said than done. I'm telling you, you need strength to come out of a toxic relationship. Steps 2 and 3 will help you find all the strength that you need, okay? When you find the strength to leave an abusive partner, it is the best decision you would ever make in your entire life. I promise you. So take it one step at a time, one day at a time. Every day that passes by presents itself a new opportunity for you to either decide whether or not you're going to stay in that relationship or whether you're going to leave. If you're leaving, leave with your full chest and never look back. It may be difficult, it may be hard, but every day that passes by, the burden will continue to get lighter and lighter, and before long, you can live fully without even being fully aware or conscious of that you ever even had a toxic relationship. But of course, you have a lot of work to do on yourself first before you get to that point where you can decide that it's time to go. No one needs to be in an abusive relationship. No one deserves to be in an abusive, manipulative, deceptive, controlling relationship. No one deserves it. It's better for you to be by yourself on your own than being with someone who constantly abuses you on a daily basis. It's 2022. Life is too short for you to continue to be in an abusive relationship with anyone. All right, family, my job here is done. Again, I'd say that I'm no relationship expert. I'm no therapist. I'm just one who is well-grounded and well-knowledgeable in life. And I'm also talking based off of my own experience. Okay, I'll see you next time with another video. Until then, remember to stay elegant.